So today, Udonis Haslem officially announced his retirement after 20 long, beautiful seasons. I was literally 5 years old when he joined the Miami Heat. And now I'm sitting here at 25 talking to the camera about his entire career. I don't know Miami Heat basketball without Udonis Haslem. Nearly my entire life, he's been on that team, which is crazy to think about. And I kid you not, I actually remember the first ever Miami Heat game that I watched. It was November 20th, 2010 versus the Memphis Grizzlies. And unfortunately, I remember because that's the game that UD got hurt that first year of the Big Three. And I really wasn't a sports guy, believe it or not, before LeBron got here, just because all the Miami teams sucked. My dad liked all the Miami teams, Dolphins, Panthers, Marlins, and obviously they all sucked, right? But I knew a few guys, with basketball, at least I knew like Kobe, Shaq, Wade, Bron. And then I hear about LeBron coming to Miami, and I'm like, that guy's a pretty big deal, right? Let me start watching the game, because my dad watched all the games. So sat in the living room, sat down with him, and I fell in love with basketball from that day on. Now, obviously, I watched the whole year, not really knowing who Udonis Haslem was because he didn't play. And then we get into the playoffs versus the Chicago Bulls in the Eastern Conference Finals. And then we hear about UD return. And so, of course, I asked my dad, I said, so is this guy good? What does he do? And my dad's like, yeah, like the dude's a defender. The dude helped us win in 2006. The dude got the silkiest, smooth, mid-range jump shot that you ever seen in your whole life. And I was like, okay, seems like, maybe he's a decent shooter. And I remember that game versus the Bulls. UD came in and dominated, had back-to-back monster dunks. And I was like, Dad, you didn't tell me this dude was athletic.
Here's Rose, rejected by Haslem. Nice pass, Haslem from Bibby, that counts, and the foul.
Going up there, dunking on people's heads and stuff, and it was just a really, really fun game. I'm sure a lot of people remember UD's comeback that year in the 2011 playoffs. It was a good time, but there's been countless Udonis Haslem memories over the years. He has been one of my favorite players. He's truly even a huge inspiration in my life, just because of his entire story coming out of nowhere. He had to play overseas in France for a little bit, I believe. Then came to the United States, busted his ass off. The Heat took notice and obviously signed him, and the rest is history. He obviously played for the University of Florida from Miami, so all that stuff's cool too, except for University of Florida. We don't like the Gators. We University Miami over here. Y'all know that. And actually, I did meet Haslem one time. It was at a game, him and Battier were taking pictures with like people, and I got in line and I was able to take a picture with Udonis Haslem. And when I walked up to him, I threw him to you, and he gave a little laugh because he likes Miami, but he went to the Gators, whatever. Y'all know the story. But he's a huge inspiration to me because when he was at college, he obviously he was a lot bigger, and then he lost a lot of weight coming into the league. And for those of y'all that don't know, I actually lost a lot of weight in my life at one point as well. Back in high school, I lost 111 pounds in 10 months. Then, because that's when I started taking like hooping seriously, like actually playing the game of basketball. And I wanted to try out for the team, so I grinded for 10 months, got in shape. And I looked at Udonis Haslem as my inspiration for all that. So the memories are truly countless with him. I always like to say my favorite one is in, I think it was the 12 or 13 playoffs versus the Indiana Pacers, where Tyler Hansbrough like hit Dwayne Wade pretty hard, and UD clobbered him pretty much the very next play.
George with the back door for Hansbrough took a shot. One, I think. That's a flagrant too.
Haslem was on Duncan Robinson's podcast a while ago and talked about that play. Basically, he said he knew he was going to have to get Hansbrough back, right? Because obviously UD, D-Wade, they're boys, and UD protects his family. Another thing that I've always really respected about him. He won't start stuff, but he sure as hell will end it, right? And on the podcast, UD's like, yeah, I knew I had to get him back. And then UD's like, I didn't know it was going to be the very next play. Because sure enough, there was a little bit of a roll. Hansbrough was coming to the basket, and y'all know the play. UD went up with two hands, boom, clobbered him to the ground. And I loved that as a Heat fan. I mean, was it a little dirty? Maybe, but like I said, UD ain't started. He just protected his boy. And truthfully, I respected that. The dude Hansbrough got the nickname Psycho T. That guy's a bum anyways. If there's someone I was not going to be sympathetic for, it's Tyler Hansbrough. But that is one of my favorite Udonis Haslem plays ever. He balled out versus the Pacers those couple years too. Had some monster games that really helped them. And people even look at that. People act like for the last 15 years he's been a bum. Nah, he was a major contributor on those big three teams, even starting multiple games in the finals, if I recall correctly. And not to mention, they would not have won in 2006 without UD because Again, I wasn't watching hoops back then, but I am a basketball and specifically Heat historian. I've done my research. That boy was the Dirk stopper. Now, nobody can really stop Dirk, and I guess in 2011, Dirk kind of balled out. But still, back in 2006, UD was a major reason why the Miami Heat won the year, of course, with D Wade and Shaq and everyone else. But I really, really love Udonis Haslem. Another memory that I want to talk about is I guess his last year. Everybody remembers, or no, it wasn't his last year. It was the year before that, I think, where people thought it might have been his last year. But the altercation with Dwight Howard, where the boy UD played 3 minutes, and it was his first game that season, and it was the last game of the year. And I remember saying, hey, he's got to play, because if you don't play at least one game that year, then it doesn't count as like a season played. So sure enough, he checked in, and he could only stay in the game for 3 minutes before getting into it with Dwight.
Haslem. And now Haslem's having words with Dwight Howard. I'm loving this right now. Here we go.
Another guy that I don't like because he injured Bam in the 2020 finals, and I'm still salty about that. But that was a hilarious moment because UD, he got like one technical, and then he said, hey, if I'm going to get one, I got to get my money's worth. And he kept pointing in Dwight Howard's face and got that second technical. Truly one of the funniest UD memories, just because, again, I don't like Dwight Howard. And sure enough, the next year, UD ended up playing. What did he play this year? He played like at least 6, 7, 8 games, I think. I don't remember what year that was. They all start to get mixed up together. And of course, UD's last game, I think it was versus the Magic. I remember on an anonymous player prop betting app that doesn't sponsor me, so I will not say their name, they had UD for his last game of his career at like 4.5 points. I said, he's going to take about 15 shots. I'm smashing the over. And sure enough, UD finished with whatever he had, like 24 points that final game. Caught a lob from Duncan Robinson, which is insane. But that was a good time. But I don't want to just act like UD was some old guy, at the end of his bench his whole career. He was an amazing player for a long time in his career. And of course, that baseline jumper, as automatic as any shot that I've ever seen in ever, right? One of the best defenders, one of the toughest guys, drawing charges unlike anybody else I've ever seen outside of Shane Battier. I remember those two used to compete for who can get the most charges. But he was a good player. Let's not let that be lost. And even his role over the last 5-6 years has really been debated by Heat fans. You got the one faction of fans that's like, hey, you're wasting a roster spot. He can be a coach from behind the bench. Why is he here if he's providing nothing? I called those fans the ungrateful fans. Me, I was always a fan that said, hey, UD, you sit on that bench as long as you want because you earned it, and I believe you have a very big impact. And those aren't even my words. I listen to a lot of podcasts. Obviously, I said Duncan Robinson's podcast. He's had players on. Players have been on other podcasts. I've listened to those guys talk about UD's importance on being on the bench. And if they say that he provides value, then who am I to say that he's wasting a roster spot? That's something that I always try to tell Heat fans too. Listen to the players. They say UD's presence as an actual member of the team is invaluable, especially what he provides in practice, because he still goes very, very hard in practice because he likes to show the young guys, hey, I ain't no slouch around here. You got to work if you want to get a bucket. You got to work if you want to get a rebound. And that's a big reason I believe all these a lot of young guys in the Heat have success is because Udonis Haslem is there to instill the proper priorities within them, and instill the hard work and all the correct morals and values and all these other things that I think is very important in sustaining a long career in the game of basketball. Just like Udonis Haslem's doing. From undrafted to 20 years in the league is just insane. I also believe that, they're saying, obviously UD's going to hopefully be on the bench next season as some sort of an assistant coach or something like that. I do believe, though, that being a player, your words have more value than if you're a coach. Because when you're a player, you tend to maybe respect your other players more because they are a peer of yours. They are more involved with what's going on as opposed to just an assistant coach sitting on the bench. So I do think that there's some additional value of UD being an actual member there. As far as the wasting roster spot thing, that's stupid. What, you want to add another Jaime Jaquez to the roster? Is that the spot that UD's taking up? Oh, I'm sorry, Jaime Jaquez couldn't play in the playoffs because he was a two-way player and UD was taking his roster spot. That's just pathetic. That argument is stupid. Heat fans say, hey, the Heat are so good at developing guys, you could use that spot to develop another guy. They have roster spots to develop guys, okay? They had Jamal Cain. They had, Orlando Robinson. Hayward Highsmith is another one. They have those spots already. You don't need another one. And he will be on the bench next year, hopefully, like an Alonzo Mourning role, I guess, for the rest of his career. It's pretty obvious Alonzo Mourning is hugely involved with the Miami Heat still, whether it's in the front office, with scouting, with player development. I'm not sure exactly what he does, but you see him at all the games, and he's sitting right next to the head honchos and Pat Riley and Andy Ellisberg. And I think we're going to start to see Udonis Haslem there too. Hopefully he can get some sort of minority stake in the team if he's interested in that. It's still a little, iffy to me on why Dwayne Wade doesn't have that. I'm not sure how well that relationship is. Although you do hear about, you do see D Wade at the games, and he just came out with some nice quotes about the Heat and Pat Riley. So I think they're good, but it won't really sit right with me until D Wade has some stake in the team. And I'm hoping we get that from Udonis Haslem as well. But that's all I got for this video. Let me know down below your favorite Udonis Haslem memory. And tomorrow, stay tuned. Subscribe if you're not already, because tomorrow I'm dropping an amazing masterpiece. It is a Tyler Herro rap. Basically, I say Herro is one of the most polarizing players in Heat history, and I rap from both perspectives. The side that loves him, the side that hates him. Just finished the video today. It is dope. So subscribe so y'all don't miss that. And like this video so other people can see it. And I appreciate all the support as always. That being said, I'll see y'all tomorrow. Peace.
Look, pull up in your city tryna get that dead face. Do it on my own, I don't need no dead weight. Had to kill him off, yeah, I need a head space. You know this homegrown bitch don't offend me.